High in the Astillero Mountains of central Mexico, perched 9,000 feet above sea level where oxygen thins and temperatures plummet, lies a cave that harbors one of archaeology's most explosive secrets. Chiquihuite Cave, a remote limestone sanctuary nearly a kilometer higher than the valley below, had remained virtually untouched by modern explorers for generations. For decades, this desolate cavern seemed like nothing more than an inhospitable void in the mountainside, barren, forbidding, and utterly unremarkable. But in 2012, when a small team of archaeologists ventured into its depths on what they thought would be a routine environmental survey, they stumbled upon something that would shatter everything we thought we knew about the first Americans. What they discovered wasn't just ancient, it was impossibly ancient. A collection of nearly 2,000 stone tools that, according to radiocarbon dating, placed humans in North America not 15,000 years ago as textbooks claimed, but an astonishing 30,000 years ago. This wasn't just a new chapter in American history. This was an entirely different book. The story begins with Dr. Ciprian Ardelean, an archaeologist at the Autonomous University of Zacatecas, whose obsession with Mexico's hidden past would lead him to one of the most dangerous excavations in modern archaeology. In 2012, his team arrived at Chiquihuite Cave, hoping to extract ancient pollen samples that might reveal what the climate was like during the Ice Age. The cave's location was brutally remote, a grueling climb up jagged mountainsides in a region of Mexico now controlled by violent drug cartels. Just reaching the site required armed escorts from Mexican federal police in armored vehicles. The scientists would leave before sunrise, hiking in darkness to avoid being spotted by cartel lookouts, who view strangers in their territory as threats to be eliminated. It is a very unsafe place to travel, recalled Dr. Mikkel Winther Pedersen, a geneticist from the University of Copenhagen who joined the expedition. We were accompanied by police officers in armored cars to the foot of the mountain. We left before sunrise to climb up to the cave so that we weren't spotted. For 10 years, Ardelean would return to this perilous location, sometimes spending months living inside the cave itself, sleeping on its cold limestone floor while methodically excavating layer after layer of ancient sediment. The danger was real. The reward? Potentially rewriting human history. As the team carefully excavated the sloping floor of the cave to a depth of 10 feet, they began unearthing something extraordinary. At first, just a few scattered stones, then dozens, then hundreds. Eventually, nearly 1,800 stone objects emerged from the cave's depths. Blades, scrapers, projectile points, and flakes created by the tool-making process. But these weren't just any stones. Over 90% of them were crafted from greenish or blackish varieties of recrystallized limestone, colors that weren't naturally found in the cave itself. Someone had brought these stones here. Someone had carefully selected them. Someone had shaped them with remarkable skill, thousands upon thousands of years ago. The artifacts were meticulously arranged throughout the cave, embedded in distinct layers of gravel and sediment that told a story spanning millennia. The team collected 46 radiocarbon samples from animal bones, charcoal, and sediment found alongside the tools. 6 additional samples were dated using luminescence techniques. When the results came back, the archaeologists could barely believe what they were seeing. The oldest tools, 239 of them locked beneath a layer of protective mud, dated to between 25,000 and 32,000 years ago. This was impossible, or at least it should have been. Later, a team of international experts descended on the cave to verify the findings. Specialists in DNA analysis, radiocarbon dating, and lithic technology examined every artifact, every sample, every layer of sediment. The tools themselves were remarkable. The collection reveals advanced flaking skills applied to a challenging raw material, the research team noted in their paper, published in the prestigious journal Nature. These weren't carcosos, or crude rocks randomly chipped by natural forces. They were sophisticated implements that required knowledge, planning, and skill to create. The way the limestone had been worked showed a technological tradition unlike anything ever seen in the Americas. These tools didn't resemble the famous Clovis points that dominated North America 13,000 years ago. They didn't match the tool-making styles of any known prehistoric culture in Mexico, South America, or Asia. This was something entirely different, something utterly unknown. Archaeologists dated the artifacts to between 25,000 and 30,000 years ago, a time period known as the last glacial maximum, when massive ice sheets covered much of North America and the world was locked in the grip of a brutal ice age. According to conventional archaeological wisdom, humans hadn't even entered the Americas yet. The Bering Land Bridge from Siberia to Alaska wouldn't become passable for thousands of years to come. Yet here, high in the mountains of Mexico, someone was crafting tools, seeking shelter, and surviving in one of the harshest periods in Earth's climatic history. The discovery of the Chiquihuite Cave artifacts is particularly remarkable because these people are a complete mystery. They left no descendants. They contributed no genes to modern Native Americans. Their culture vanished without a trace, swallowed by time as thoroughly as if they had never existed. No human remains have been found in the cave, no bones, no teeth, no mummified bodies that might yield DNA evidence. The team extracted ancient DNA from the sediment layers, identifying genetic material from black bears, rodents, bats, voles, and even kangaroo rats that once inhabited the cave. But human DNA? Nothing. We don't know who they were, where they came from, or where they went. Dr. Ardeline admitted in an interview, they are a complete enigma. The absence of human genetic material actually supports the theory that these ancient visitors didn't live in the cave permanently. They came, they stayed for a while, perhaps during particularly harsh winters when the cave's natural insulation provided life-saving shelter, and then they left. We think people spent part of the year there using it as a winter or summer shelter, or as a base to hunt during migration, explained Professor Esk Willersleff, an evolutionary biologist at the University of Cambridge and one of the study's lead authors. This could be the America's oldest ever hotel. The absence of written records, skeletal remains, or living descendants makes reconstructing these people's lives extraordinarily difficult. But the artifacts themselves whisper clues across the millennia. The stone tools, with their advanced flaking techniques, reveal a population of skilled craftspeople who understood their materials intimately. The fact that they preferentially selected greenish and blackish limestone, rare colors in the local geology, suggests aesthetic preferences or perhaps spiritual significance attached to certain stones. The variety of tool types indicates diverse activities: cutting, scraping, piercing, hunting. The team also discovered charcoal deposits throughout the cave, radiocarbon dated to between 12,000 and 32,000 years ago. While some of this charcoal might have resulted from natural events like lightning strikes, the researchers believe much of it came from fires deliberately set by humans seeking warmth in the frigid Ice Age climate. The cave's environment during this period would have been dramatically different from today. DNA analysis of ancient pollen revealed evidence of Douglas fir trees, species that no longer grow in Mexico, alongside juniper, pine, spruce, and other cold climate vegetation. It would have looked like Oregon or British Columbia, said Ardeline. You would completely not recognize it. Lakes and hot springs would have dotted the landscape. Herds of massive Ice Age mammals, mammoths, mastodons, giant ground sloths would have roamed the forests. For humans adapted to this environment, the cave would have been an invaluable refuge. The disappearance of these ancient people remains one of the most haunting mysteries in American archaeology. They simply vanished, not gradually absorbed into other populations, but completely erased from the genetic record. Several theories attempt to explain this enigma. Perhaps they were part of an early migration wave that failed to establish a permanent foothold in the Americas. Small populations, isolated by vast distances and harsh climates, might have simply died out before they could expand across the continent. The Ice Age was brutal and unforgiving. One particularly severe winter, one failed hunt, one outbreak of disease could have spelled extinction for a tiny band of pioneers. Or perhaps they were eventually overwhelmed by later migration waves, the ancestors of modern Native Americans, who arrived via the Bering Land Bridge around 16,000 years ago, and whose superior numbers or technology allowed them to dominate the landscape. In this scenario, the Chiquihuite people might have been slowly displaced, their culture forgotten, their bloodline diluted beyond recognition or eliminated entirely. Or perhaps their decline began even earlier, before the last glacial maximum ended, driven by environmental changes, resource depletion, or conflicts we can only imagine. The silence of the cave on this matter is absolute and deafening. The artifacts themselves reveal something profound about these mysterious people's worldview. The very location of Chiquihuite Cave suggests this was no casual shelter. At 9,000 feet above sea level, perched on a mountainside with commanding views over the valley below, the cave would have required significant effort to reach even in good conditions. During the Ice Age, when horrible storms, hail, and snow would have battered the landscape, according to Ardeline, accessing this site would have been treacherous. Yet people kept returning to it over thousands of years, perhaps as many as 16,000 years based on the range of dated artifacts. Why? What drew them back to this specific location generation after generation? The cave's strategic position might have served defensive purposes, allowing small groups to spot approaching predators or rival bands from miles away. But there may have been spiritual dimensions as well. In many indigenous American cultures, caves are sacred spaces, portals to the underworld, wombs of the Earth Mother, dwelling places of powerful spirits. For the Chiquihuite people, This remote, difficult-to-reach cavern might have held profound religious significance, a place where shamans communed with otherworldly forces, or where important rituals marking seasonal changes or life transitions took place. The discovery at Chiquihuite Cave adds a revolutionary new chapter to the story of the Americas, a region whose human history is far older and more complex than anyone suspected. For most of the 20th century, archaeologists agreed on a relatively simple narrative. Humans crossed the Bering Land Bridge from Siberia to Alaska approximately 13,000 years ago when retreating ice sheets opened a migration corridor southward. These people, known as the Clovis culture after their distinctive spear points, were thought to be the Americas' first and only colonizers. But over the past few decades, this tidy story has collapsed under an avalanche of new evidence. Sites in Oregon, Texas, Florida, Chile, and Brazil have all yielded artifacts or human remains dated to 14,000, 15,000, even 16,000 years ago. Each discovery pushed the timeline backward, forcing archaeologists to revise their theories about when and how humans first entered the Western Hemisphere. Now, Chiquihuite Cave threatens to push that date back by another 15,000 years, essentially doubling the accepted timeline of human presence in the Americas. The archaeological team is now studying the Chiquihuite artifacts in exhaustive detail using the most advanced techniques available. The stone tools are being subjected to microscopic use-wear analysis to determine exactly how they were employed, whether for cutting meat, scraping hides, working wood, or other purposes. Residue analysis might reveal traces of blood, plant materials, or other organic matter clinging to the tool's surfaces even after 30,000 years. The team is conducting additional isotopic analysis on the limestone to pinpoint the exact geological sources of the raw material, which could reveal trade networks or migration patterns. Further DNA sampling of the sediment layers continues in hopes of detecting human genetic material that might have been missed in earlier analyses. And researchers are preparing to explore other sections of the cave that haven't yet been excavated, including areas closer to the entrance where daily activities like cooking and tool repair would have taken place. Each new analysis has the potential to illuminate another facet of this profound mystery, revealing details about a lost world and a forgotten people who walked the earth before recorded history began. For modern archaeologists, Chiquihuite Cave is both a treasure trove and a cautionary tale. The cave's remoteness and the difficulty of accessing it, both the physical challenge of the terrain and the very real danger posed by drug cartel violence in the region, make excavation extraordinarily challenging. The lack of human remains or more definitive evidence of occupation leaves room for skepticism, and indeed, many archaeologists remain unconvinced that the stone artifacts are truly human-made rather than geofacts created by natural geological processes. Critics point to the crude appearance of many of the tools, the absence of hearths or trash middens, and the lack of butchered animal bones as evidence that the cave was never actually inhabited. James Chatters of Central Washington University has suggested that limestone naturally fractured by rockfall from the cave ceiling could easily be mistaken for primitive tools. Yet the discovery has sparked intense debate and renewed interest in Mexico's prehistoric past, a region often overshadowed by the more famous archaeological sites of Peru, Chile, and the American Southwest. Ardeline and his colleagues plan to conduct extensive surveys throughout the surrounding mountains, searching for other caves or rock shelters that might contain similar evidence. If Chiquihuite wasn't an isolated anomaly but part of a broader pattern of Ice Age occupation, the implications would be staggering. The story of Chiquihuite Cave is one of courage, persistence, and the relentless human drive to uncover truth despite danger and uncertainty. What began as a simple environmental study, an attempt to extract ancient pollen that might reveal Ice Age climate conditions, transformed into a decade-long odyssey that challenged fundamental assumptions about American prehistory. The archaeologists who lived in this cave, who climbed its treacherous approaches before dawn to avoid cartel spotters, who painstakingly excavated layer after layer of ancient sediment, have given us a gift, evidence that the story of humanity in the Americas is far older, far stranger, and far more mysterious than we ever imagined. Nearly 2,000 stone tools, carefully crafted from selected limestone and left behind in a high mountain cave, whisper to us across 30 millennia. They speak of people who braved the worst climate catastrophe in recent Earth history, who found shelter in stone, who survived when survival should have been impossible. These ancient Americans, though vanished and nameless, have left behind a legacy etched in rock. And as researchers continue to study these precious artifacts, employing cutting-edge technology to coax secrets from ancient stone and sediment, they hope to piece together more of this forgotten people's story, to illuminate a previously hidden chapter of human history and perhaps answer the most haunting question of all. Who were these mysterious pioneers, and what happened to them? Thank you for watching and joining us on this journey into the America's deepest mystery. If you enjoyed exploring the enigma of Chiquihuite Cave and the unknown people who vanished into the mists of time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that uncover the forgotten chapters of human history. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think happened to these Ice Age pioneers? Did they simply die out, or could their descendants still walk among us, their origins forgotten? Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep exploring the wonders of our ancient past.